because the SEC is ranked number 1 in football for a reason. They provide a lot of players in the league for a reason. It's about them as a unit, not about, okay, one person or one school and then everybody else. And it's sad, but that Longhorn brand has been the breakup of not 1, not 2, not 3, but almost 4 different leagues. You know, when you look at it in the big picture, you go from the SWC, Big 6, Big 8, a smattering of whatever, teams getting thrown out, moving on to Conference USA. Well, at that time, I think with the Metro, right, and teams headed over to the WAC, to the big WAC. That conference splitting up. Folks moving out 5 years later to Conference USA, which was another form in the Mountain West, and you look at the ramification became one school.
And just last year, Nebraska left the Big 12 for the Big 10 because they were basically tired of Longhorns running the conference.
And folks all could have gotten resolved if UT had said, okay, we'll rotate out between St. Louis and Dallas. But no, they decided that.
Well, it's point blank. If the Longhorns would simply have agreed to a Big 12 network, and like the Big 10 schools did, this wouldn't be an issue.
And the sad part is, the year before, when the SEC, because it was 2 years ago when the SEC announced their new TV deal, and everybody was like, wow. Well, the Big 10 has had that network for how many years now? At least, 4? About 4. Mm-hmm. You've got 2 platforms to go from, and you should have just used that as a commissioner and says, okay, we can do that. And I got to go back and check, but I'm not mistaken, Mr. Beebe basically looked up and, when the SEC gave that, mentioned about that, it says, wow, that may change things. Well, it did. But it changed things for the worse because people didn't look at that as the big picture. All right, let's move on.
I'm going to talk about this, and this is going to take a few minutes as we wind down the podcast. On Tuesday, we talked about the SEC a bit ago, but on Tuesday afternoon, icon Pat Summitt, legend Pat Summitt, publicly announced that she has early onset dementia, Alzheimer's type. There's an interview that was posted posted on the Tennessee Lady Volunteers website. You've seen it now on ESPN. I have it linked on my blog post on the East Roundball Review website, eastroundballreview.com. And what it is, we've many more media have focused on the term early onset dementia rather than what it is. It's Alzheimer's disease, right, is what it is. Coach Summitt is 59 years old. When I first saw the news, I was stunned. I was dumbfounded. I notified you, and you were the same. So we're just going to wrap this up these next few minutes talking about Pat Summitt and her impact on women's sports, not just women's college basketball, women's sports, and in a very roundabout way, her impact on us.
That's true.
Because
we actually have had the opportunity to sit behind the bench, press table, and not on just one occasion, but on several occasions during the postseason play and during the double hitter one of the NCAA doubleheaders
in Tampa.
Where they won their last national championship.
We've seen them play. I saw them win championship in Cleveland and in Tampa. We saw them in Oklahoma City when they played the Sooners. It was part of Coach Summitt's tour going for 1,000 wins.
Right.
The Sooners won that game, but we were there for that. It's not to say that Coach Summitt is friends, of ours, but she is a big part of women's college basketball, which means she has a big part of an impact on us because that's one of the sports that we cover and focus on. But just to go back, she's been in Tennessee 37 years. She built that program from the ground up, brick by brick.
And she graduates college and then gets asked to come and help out with the program and takes over. She doesn't get a break from an adjustment break. She basically steps in and says, boom, it's yours, run with it. And one of the rare occasions, we talking about years ago before it was even fashionable to allow women's sports to thrive on campus, she was given the backing of the administration to just build this program up, which tells you somebody at that point was forward thinking.
Agreed. And she's won 1071, 1,071 games, most wins in college basketball, men or women coaching. She has 8 national championships. She's impacted so many lives in all levels of sports. Michelle Bopel, colleague of writer for ESPN.com, has a great line in her article. Typically, we refer to coaches who former players, former assistant coaches, leave the staff and go become coaches somewhere else as a coaching tree. Michelle Bopel refers to Coach Summitt's lineage as a coaching forest.
That's true.
Because that's what it is. She's impacted so many people, and we know one person directly who played for her, Bridgette Gordon, who's now assistant coach at Wichita State. And the time we see Bridgette at the Final Four, we don't go 5 minutes without her talking about Pat Summitt, Tennessee players, or whatever.
Even when she was a scout now for the league back in the day.
NBA. So Pat Summitt impacted Bridgette, still impacted Bridgette in what she does as a coach. And you are in the process of interviewing the area college coaches, get their comments on Coach Summitt and the announcement of her illness. Coach Greg Williams, the Rice head coach. Everybody has said, Coach Summitt is a fighter. She's a fighter. She'll do the best she can through this. It's a question of how long or the disease, how long it will take for her to really impact her more so coaching, which will force her to ultimately step down and step away from it.
And close to a person, everybody that knows her, yesterday was a calm period. It's about as calm as you will ever see her. Because once the season, school has started, and once practice gets going, she'll be back to herself, and everybody all knows it. Says, okay, she's here. Let's get this done.
And I thought about this after the announcement, because she waited for 2 of her players to come back from World University games, Shakina Strickland and Gloria Johnson, who helped USA basketball win a gold medal. And kudos for the whole squad to come back before she made an announcement to the team. I hope Lady Vols fans don't put too much expectations, more so than they already do, for Lady Vols to win a championship, make the season championship a bust, because there will be on the players, because there will be fans who will say, my goodness, Coach Summitt is fighting dementia, and she's still coaching, and y'all can't woman up and win this championship for Coach this year, and if possibly send her out on a winning note. Who knows? This could be a last year, but depending on how the disease progresses, if it progresses rapidly, whatever. There's no need. I want anybody to put more pressure on, because I think it's going to happen.
After going through the initial shock and then sleeping on it. That's why I got up yesterday and it was in my mind and all to go and do the interviews and all to get comments and all. I thought back about Coach Wooden, knowing everybody here in the area. I basically did the same thing. But the next thing that came out of my mind after that, especially talking to one coach in particular, I thought about how much pressure they're on already as far as the Lady Vols winning the championship, hanging another banner in the rafters. Now it's almost to a fan that walks through that door every night. They're looking at those players more than they're looking at coach. It's almost like you are bound by the uniform that you wear, that another banner should be hanging in the rafters. And you and I have watched them go through a drought. Not because UConn was just better, but they just went through a drought because of the mental strain and stress that's put on them by the fans, not by coach, but by fans, and showing up, greeting them, seeing them out and about. Gotta win, gotta win, gotta win.
Lady Vol Nation is massive. And clearly this is in relation to women's college basketball. But there's two huge support bases that are basically nationwide.
That's it.
UConn Nation and Lady Vol Nation. Every Final Four, the representative, whether the school is in the Final Four playing or not, there'll be fans from both those schools in attendance at those games. It's just a question of how many will be there. So, Pat Summitt, with the announcement of her early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, got me thinking about another thing. Coach Geno Auriemma was quoted saying that Pat is a fighter, and Pat will, if anyone can beat this, she will, and supports her and everything. It just goes to show how petty and how ludicrous, but how fans are. Because the last 3-4 years, Tennessee fans, UConn fans cannot stand each other.
They don't sit next to each other.
They have disdain for one another.
They don't buy tickets next to each other.
I think there's still respect there, mutual respect, but it got to a point of hatred.
Yeah.
We
talk about senior citizens now, folks. We're not talking about just
why doesn't Pat want to play us anymore? Because she doesn't want UConn to beat Tennessee anymore, blah, blah, blah. They're afraid we'll kick their butt, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And yet, once the announcement came out, UConn fans, thoughts and prayers to Pat Summitt. God bless you, Pat Summitt. So, it takes a medical emergency for us to take a step back and realize, this is only a basketball game.
Yeah.
We're getting all wrapped up in a rival, having venom toward a rival, and yet, in reality, it's just a basketball game.
Yesterday is a photo about A&M bonfire and the UT tribute at halftime. Brought back another memory of how schools actually understand that they are more alike than they are different.
Right.
Where things are concerned, as far as the schools. That's why when you sit back and you look at the games, the situation, the Final Fours, that the preseason non-conference games that UConn and Tennessee have had over the years. You think about the Tennessee and the La Techs over the past, the USC and the La Tech over the past. At some point,
La Tech in Texas.
That's true. I almost forgot about that. That's right. UT was a power. It used to get things done on a regular basis. Yes, it's been a while since they last been to a Final Four, but they used to wreak havoc.
Stacey Stevens,
Clarissa Davis.
You going back? You forget about Stacey Stevens, man.
Well, I'm looking at what I was looking at. Every day, Coach Jody Conrad, they roll up in time, says, all right, Let's get this done.
Who's taking this butt kicking? Who's next on the list?
You know,